This is News 25 with Deanna O'Donnell and Missy Kohler. News 25, local news you can count on. News is brought to you by J.K. Nelson Law. Call 727-9900 today for your free consultation. If you need a lawyer, you need Nelson.
Welcome to News 25. I'm Deanna O'Donnell.
I'm Missy Kohler, and today is Monday, June 28th.
Well, Nye County Sheriff's Office have completed their investigation into what they originally called a suspicious death over the weekend. The Nye County Sheriff's Office deputies and detectives have been investigating what they first reported as a suspicious death that occurred on Saturday afternoon at the 5300 block of Parum Valley Boulevard. An 83-year-old female was reportedly found deceased in the yard next to her vehicle, which had driven several times around the yard, through a mesquite tree, and partially through her metal garage. The neighbors told News 25 about the female and that they had heard screaming and what sounded like arguing shortly before police arrived. They went outside and found that their fence was ran over by that vehicle owned by this individual. After a thorough investigation by police, including flying a drone over the property, the Nye County Sheriff's Office has determined that the death was due to natural causes. Nye County Sheriff's Office has not commented any further on what exactly happened to the woman, who is originally from France and has been a longtime resident of Parum.
What started as a call for a reported drive-by shooting Friday evening in Parum leads to the arrest of one man.
Police and fire responded to a report of a drive-by shooting on Crawford Way near the front of Preferred RV Resort Friday night. At first thought to be a report of shots being fired from two separate vehicles. After reviewing the footage provided by the RV Resort, police saw only one vehicle and driver shooting in the area. After putting out a bolo for the suspect and vehicle, the individual called police to say he was suicidal and driving to Desert View Hospital. The hospital was put on lockdown temporarily, and police intercepted the VW wagon at Blagg Road and Basin Avenue. The man, identified as Michael Montecalvo, was taken into custody for discharging a weapon where others may be present. He was transported for a mental health evaluation and is facing charges.
And one person was airlifted to a trauma center in Las Vegas after a weekend crash. Parum Valley Fire and Rescue crews responded to a mutual aid assignment over the weekend on South Highway 160 in Clark County at mile marker 30. One driver of a single vehicle accident reportedly suffered face trauma and was entrapped inside the pickup truck. They were transported via Mercy Air to a Las Vegas trauma center. Traffic was shut down on the highway while Mercy Air landed on the highway and transported the patient to Las Vegas. Nevada Highway Patrol is conducting the accident investigation.
Clark County Sheriff Joseph Lombardo has announced that he is running for governor of the state of Nevada. Lombardo was first elected to sheriff in 2014. He's been with the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department since 1998. He joins a field that already includes North Las Vegas Mayor John Lee and Reno area attorney Joey Gilbert, both of whom announced they would seek the Republican nomination for governor for next year's election.
And Catalina Enriquez has become the first transgender woman to be crowned Miss USA Nevada. Sunday's pageant was held at the South Point Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas. Enriquez was the winner of the Miss Silver State USA pageant in March. This is a preliminary competition for the Miss Nevada USA pageant.
Kevin Heyer and his attorney Thomas Gibson were in court last week with what was to be a calendar call prior to the start of his trial. Instead, a new trial date was set. Heyer was arrested on May 7, 2020, when deputies were called to an address on Quail Run Road for a domestic disturbance. Heyer was shot during the altercation, reportedly in self-defense. A statement from the victim said that the incident began when Heyer entered her room while she was in the bathtub. She said that Heyer allegedly put his hands around her neck, pushed her head under the water while attempting to strangle her. Two family members came to her aid and were able to get Heyer to release her. Heyer then left the home and retrieved an axe from a tool shed. One of the victims then got a shotgun and pointed it at Heyer as he threw the axe at them. He missed the victims but reportedly retrieved the axe and began running at them with the axe in hand, and that is when the victim shot Heyer twice. Deputies said that when they arrived on scene, Heyer had a 5-foot-long pole in hand and refused to drop the pole, and he threw it at them before he was finally detained. Heyer was then flown to UMC Trauma for treatment for his gunshot wounds. It was also discovered that Heyer had a stolen pickup truck from his neighbor, and it was found at the scene. Heyer was arraigned on June 1st for domestic battery by strangulation, abuse of an older person, attempted murder, 2 counts of assault with a deadly weapon, and attempted murder with the use of a deadly weapon. He entered a plea of not guilty by reason of insanity on all counts. At the calendar call, Attorney Gibson stated that he would not be ready for the trial date as it was originally scheduled for July 12th due to the availability of expert witnesses. Gibson would procure the services of a forensic psychiatrist to testify on behalf of the defense, but had not yet been able to confirm that prior to the calendar call. He has a call set up with a doctor, but nothing had been confirmed. Gibson asked for a trial date farther out. Judge Wonker confirmed that Heyer realized that he would be waiving his right to a speedy trial and also expressed that she would not issue another continuance and the trial would move forward, ready or not. The trial date has now been moved to November 29th through December 10th with a calendar call on October 15th.
And a traffic stop leads to the arrest of a man for allegedly stealing a vehicle.
Sheriff's deputies responded to a Parum address for a report of an auto theft. The reporting person stated that she met a man a few months ago identified as Orion Roberts. She allowed him to stay on a bed on the back porch and advised that he had completed some work for her that she paid him for. The victim said that she allowed for him to use her vehicle. Law enforcement conducted a traffic stop in the area of Basin and Lola and identified the driver as Roberts. He was read his rights, waived them, and said that he had permission to use the car. Roberts said that while he was stopped at a gas station, a female stole the vehicle from him. He said the vehicle was located at a friend's house and he provided the address. Roberts was then transported to Nye County Detention Center for narcotic charges stemming from the traffic stop. Deputies then went to the address provided by Roberts where they found the vehicle parked in front of the residence. When deputies spoke with the residents, they told them that someone parked the car and it was picked up by someone in the car that looked like a police car. Officers located the keys to the stolen vehicle in the car that Roberts was driving when they stopped him. Orion Roberts was then arrested for taking and possessing a vehicle without the owner's consent and abuse of an older, vulnerable person.
We've got more News 25 coming right up, so stay close.
You're watching News 25, the most recognized and farthest reaching local news in Nye County. News 25, local news you can count on.
Welcome back. We're happy you're with us tonight. Starting Wednesday, you may be getting fewer of those annoying robocalls, and Habitat for Humanity is struggling to build homes due to soaring construction costs.
Here's Angela Miles with today's Business First Brief.
Topping our news, starting Wednesday, cell phone companies will be required to use new technology that cuts down on robocalls. Consumers have received 22 billion annoying robocalls just in the first 5 months of this year. Among the scam calls, promises of car warranties or fake offers to lower your credit card interest rates. Do not fall for it. Residents are taking action following that deadly collapse of a Miami area condo. A class action lawsuit totaling $5 million has been filed against the building's condo association for failing its residents. Habitat for Humanity is struggling to build homes with a high cost of construction. Habitat builders are taking out loans and stepping up fundraising.
To find out where you can see us every day, go to businessfirstam.com.
Thanks so much, Angela. Well, police say that dozens of people remain unaccounted for today after a collapse of part of a 12-story residential building in Surfside, Florida. Search and rescue teams have been feverishly scouring the site since shortly after the 55 of the building's 136 units fell last Thursday. Authorities say that 11 people are dead, with 8 identified at this time. The building was constructed in 1981, and according to the online Dade property records, the beachfront community is just a few miles north of Miami Beach. Residents commented that they heard creaking noises the night before the collapse.
So, does Parum Valley Winery have a liquor license, or is that still in question? The winery and the county have been in and out of court the last few months, allowing the judge to make that decision. Nye County District Attorney Chris Arabia spoke with News 25 to explain where the case stands now.
The court issued an order on May 25th, and basically what the status of it is the county liquor board said, basically that you're not to the winery, you're not in compliance, so we're pulling your license, more or less. And the winery said, well, we don't agree with that, so they took it to court. The judge has issued a temporary order or temporary injunction making the county give the license back or permit them, the winery, to serve alcohol again. And the court's reasoning seemed to be there was an order that the court issued. The court feels that because the winery had a license from July of 2019 to June of 2020, that in the court's view, that is seems to be an important factor that would suggest that the winery might ultimately win this legal dispute. And so the court felt that the talk about the application not being complete might be a difficult thing to prove because they had the license. Now, the county, we don't really agree with that. The county's position, and my office is representing the county, is that the county acted appropriately. I'm not going to get into the specifics of why we think that. At this point, the court is indicating that it looks like the winery is going to ultimately win. We are going to continue to put our position forward, and the county, the board, and the DA's office think that we should prevail. Whether or not we will, we might not agree with the decision that the court ultimately makes, but that is up to the court, and then whichever party loses could potentially appeal. As far as the winery is concerned, the county's position, I think, was made clear at the meeting that there were concerns about whether all the documentation had been provided. This was on the public record. There was a 5-hour hearing on one of the meetings, and so that's always a concern if you have a situation where the financials aren't complete or there's issues with them. Yeah, of course that's a concern, and the board has those concerns, and the board is my client, and I'm making sure that those concerns get voiced, and hopefully the judge will see it our way. We're not communists. We want people to run a successful business that provides a service that people want and are willing to pay for, and so on and so forth, and that's how you end up with a wealthy nation. At the same time, there are certain businesses that do have to have some regulation, and obviously it's always tough finding the ideal balance. Long term, the hope is that there's a solution where the board is happy and the business is happy and the public is happy with the way the business is set up. Certainly the county is claiming that a probationary license is the same as a conditional license, and the court seems to indicate that that's not the case. And the court, because at this point it seems to be finding that they had a regular license from 2019 to 2020, the court is saying that once you have a regular license, you don't have to go through all that. You've already been through the initial application. And so I think what the court is kind of suggesting there is that once they went through that once, they don't have to go through it again, and so that their license should just be renewed based on the renewal, which is a much simpler process. And then, of course, the county is saying that the probationary and conditional are similar, and the court doesn't seem to see it that way. So again, we're going to have to see how the court rules, and then whichever side loses would have to, explore whether an appeal might be worthwhile.
We've got more News 25 coming right up.
You're watching News 25, brought to you by Mountain West Lawyer, Injury Attorneys, 727-9500. News 25, local news you can count on.
Welcome back. A Nye County employee has been arrested on several charges pertaining to his job.
Nye County Sheriff's Office was investigating a public employee using his position for financial gain. Samuel Alsop, a Nye County Treasurer's Office employee who was assigned to the Tonopah office, was named as the suspect. Alsop was in charge of the Treasurer's Trust, which lists properties that are delinquent in taxes and go to auction, which takes approximately 3 to 4 years. In February of 2020, a victim sent a letter to the Treasurer's Office requesting to abandon a property. Some time after, Alsop spoke to this person on the phone and brokered a deal in which he would buy the property for $10, which is significantly under the taxable value of the property, listed at $2,709 on the assessor's page. This property was not delinquent on taxes. Alsop purchased the property, sending the victim a check for $10. A questionnaire was sent to both parties, which is recorded as an official document for the property. Alsop completed the document, signing his name and indicating that he purchased the property for $2,000 and that the property had delinquent taxes, which is a material misstatement. The assessor's office further shows that the official sale of the property was for $2,000 in August of 2020. In 2021, Alsop sold the property along with a second parcel for approximately $4,800. In early June of 2020, a woman contacted Alsop at the treasurer's office to speak about relinquishing her property. She said she was told that the property she had was a worthless property. Based on this information, she was going to give the property to Alsop at no cost. The property was listed as being worth $4,907 of taxable land. The victim signed a quitclaim deed over to Alsop, which has since been mailed back to her by the Nye County Recorder's Office. On June 8th, deputies spoke with Alsop. According to the declaration of arrest, he verified that he did purchase the property from the first victim for $10 and that he was going to purchase the other property for $10 as well. He further admitted that he would not have had contact with either party except for the fact that he works in the treasurer's office and they specifically called to talk about getting rid of their property. When asked about the questionnaire and its inaccuracies, he denied that he filled the document out. When presented with the error of delinquent taxes, he stated that it was a misunderstanding as he had to pay the taxes the year he purchased the property. However, even then, the property was not delinquent. Finding evidence that a crime had been committed, Samuel Alsop was arrested on 2 counts of misconduct of a public officer, false representation regarding a title, obtaining property by false pretenses, and exploitation of an older, vulnerable person.
Summer is here, and so are the bonfires and backyard barbecues. They can be a great way to have some fun, but it's always important to be careful when you're around open flames.
We see a fair share, frankly speaking, of touching the grill, touching the surface, food falling over, and all those are pretty common occurrences, unfortunately.
Dr. Purva Grover is an emergency medicine physician for Cleveland Clinic Children's and has seen all kinds of burn injuries over the years. She says while adults might be the ones cooking on the grill or building the fire, parents also need to keep a close eye on their little ones. She says it can be very easy for them to accidentally grab onto something hot or get too close to the flames. The same goes for adolescent-aged kids. They may be tempted to throw random stuff into the fire, which can be incredibly dangerous. According to safety experts, trash, plastic, cardboard, wet wood, and accelerants like gasoline or lighter fluid should never be used.
I usually recommend that the parents actually have a pile of things that can be thrown into the fire and can be used in the fire, especially when we're talking about the adolescent age group, because we have seen some pretty nasty fire-related injuries and heat-related injuries.
Dr. Grover says if you suffer a major burn, seek medical care right away. However, if it appears to be more minor, run the burn under cool water and wrap it with gauze. Never put ice on the burn. That can actually further damage the tissue.
News 25 WeatherCam is brought to you by Lerner and Rowe Injury Attorney's Office in Parum. In a wreck, need a check? Call 702-877-1500.
Hi, good evening, Nevada. It's John Kohler staring out the KPVM weather window. We are looking up from the bottom of Death Valley, 115 degrees there today. Woo! Fuego. We'll tell you all about the weather to expect in the next week coming up.
News 25 weather is brought to you by Dairy Council of Nevada. The splash of cream in your coffee, the dollop of sour cream on your burrito, the melted toasty cheese on your pizza. Undeniably delicious, undeniably dairy. Enjoy what's real.
Hi, good evening, Nevada. It's John Kohler from the KPVM Weather Studios. Lovely to see you on a Monday. Hope you made it through your weekend all in fine form. Check out this weather as we head up and down the state. Kind of a coolness donut as we look northward, 103, 105, 100 degrees up in Carson City. That seems all right, but Tonopah, Goldfield, look at you in the mid-90s. That sounds like downright pleasant, especially as you head south. Look at Beatty, 104 degrees, sweating it real good at 108 in Amargosa. Las Vegas, they're just dripping with love at 108 degrees for a high today. Death Valley, 119, but here in the paradise of Parum, where the air is pure, the grass is green, and all the children are above average, 105 degrees. Whoa, 106 earlier. Winds blowing lightly out of the south to 9 miles per hour. And the sun rose this morning at 5:28. It's going to set this evening at 8:05. We will celebrate night with an extra couple minutes to enjoy. 83 degrees is where we're headed tonight. Easterly winds to 9 miles per hour. Oh, we're going to have a beautiful sunset. We're going to just light clouds and just beautiful colors. 14% humidity carrying us into the week, and we might actually see some rain the next couple, 3 days here and there. Here and there. It's going to be triple digits throughout the week. Looks like some clouds for the next few days, and then nothing but sunshine on the weekend. Lows at night about 80 degrees. That sounds like summer days. Enjoying that. Back to the desk. Here's Missy and Deanna.
Lots of thunderstorms coming our way, so we'll keep you posted on that. Good night.